All right, 7:17. Wow, it's been a while since we've done a video. My bad, but we're back on. There are about 2 or 3 people posted questions about the message from last week and a couple of things I said. And the first question had to do with my claim that it is irrational to say that the universe is eternal and also in flux, and this has created a question as to why that's impossible for something to be eternally in flux. And just a brief history of this: during the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, physicists like Carl Sagan and other physicists who are working on what was called the unification theory of physics and the creation or the beginning of the universe were trying to take the 4 forces of physics and unify them into one large equation, and they could get them unified all the way back to a couple of nanoseconds before the beginning, and thus began the theory known as the Big Bang Theory, that the universe billions of years ago exploded into being. There was at one point nothing but energy, and then the energy translated into mass amounts of matter. And it was long told in the physics community that up to 1 nanosecond before the beginning of the, or after the beginning of the universe, our physics makes complete sense. But from 1 nanosecond back to the initial origin of the universe, we were stuck with blind faith or mystery. Well, the problem for this is that in the science community, there's been a lot of pressure from those who believed in things like intelligent design, or theists who believe God is the cause of the Big Bang, that every cause has every effect has a cause, the effect being the universe and the cause being God. God created the universe. And that began other theories. One theory was that, well, maybe somewhere in the universe, even though everything we observe about the universe is that the universe is moving from an initial beginning to a dying end, that all things in the universe are moving toward greater and greater entropy or greater and greater disorder and will eventually end. Well, one theorist was that, no, maybe there's a part of the universe that is eternal, non-contingent, and non-dependent. To which, of course, what we call a being that is eternal, non-contingent, non-dependent, we call that being God. And so, again, this created problems. Other theorists were, from people as reputable as Weinberg, who is a PhD Nobel laureate at UT Austin, said maybe there's a universe-making machine that just spits these universes out over and over and over again, and occasionally it gets lucky and makes a functioning universe like ours. To which, of course, what would we call an eternal, non-dependent, non-contingent machine that makes massive universes? Well, we might call that God. And so this became a greater and greater problem for physicists. So the theory, for non-theistic physicists, the theory then became, well, what if the universe is tricking us? That all our observations that the universe is moving towards greater and greater entropy and greater disorder, and all the major laws of physics, laws of thermodynamics and so forth, maybe they're all just tricking us. Maybe the universe really is eternal, even though everything we see about it is that it's constantly changing and moving towards a definitive end. So from this has emerged the eternal flux theory. This comes out of, you'll hear it from various physics discussions like string theory or other things like it. And the idea being that maybe the universe has always been here, just constantly changing. The problem is not that just the universe is in flux. The problem is everything in the observable universe is moving towards a definitive, disordered end. Not that it reorders itself and then gets better, but that it'll eventually completely destroy itself or end or has a definitive end in the future. And so this idea that this definitive end has been a cycle of repeated recreations of itself, it takes more faith to believe that than it does to say an intelligent, eternal, non-dependent, non-contingent being by his own intelligent free will created the universe from nothing. This makes more sense because it is consistent with the teleological argument for the existence of God. In other words, we look around and we see a purpose and an end behind the way the universe is held together. It denies the ontological arguments for the existence of God, that by definition the universe is temporary, and we know that, and we know intuitively that there must be a cause that produced an effect. It also deals with the issue of aesthetics, that it's not just the universe is ordered, but it's actually beautiful, that planets and stars and trees and people are beautiful, and this doesn't seem to be random but purposeful. And so all of these arguments fit more consistently, not with an eternally in flux universe, which is a self-contradictory term. It can't be in flux and be eternal at the same time, because in flux implies beginnings and ends. Eternal implies no beginning and no end. It makes more sense to say there is a purposeful, intelligent God who put the universe in motion. And I find a lot of the energy around this, and when I was in grad school in chaos theory and things like that, a lot of this energy is driven around how to have the universe as we see it today without having my behavior matter. And that just seems to be one of the motivating factors for a lot of cosmology that we see today, a lot of rejection of things like intelligent design that we see today. All right, that's a very technical question, very technical answer. I apologize for that. If you'd like to know more about that, we can talk about it further. This is in the area of academic apologetics and has a lot of physics and science issues in it. I'm not an expert in these, but these are the main ideas behind that. Okay, second question is, do I have a top 10 sermons list? What I will do is I will come up with a list that I will put on the Facebook for 717 of my 10 favorite sermons to watch over and over again, and I will put that list out there. So we'll link to that. We'll give you a list of that, and I'll mention it next week. And then the other question was the question of stem cell research. Is it unethical? Stem cell research in itself is not unethical, because what it says is that there are basic cells to the human life that are directly connected to mom and infant. And these stem cells are not just resident within the DNA of the infant, but also in the umbilical cord of mom. And as we found out now, is almost all the stem cells that we have been collecting over the years from aborted babies can now, many of them, if not all of them, be reproduced from the umbilical cord of mom. And so what has happened now is a move among scientists, not just for ethical reasons, but also just for safety and convenience issues, is after the birth of a baby, acquiring stem cells from the umbilical cord of mom. That is not only not unethical, but incredibly wise. This is the understanding of how God put the universe together, how he put people together, and how to actually cure some of the diseases that have come into the world as a result of the fall. So on that, I would say, no, I don't think stem cell research on its surface is unethical. Are there unethical behaviors within the history of stem cell research? I think yes, there have been. And I think just like any scientific area, there are ethical questions that must be carefully, as a believer, investigated, carefully handled. I would say stem cell on its own, great research should continue. Stem cell that involves the taking of human life for the purpose of supporting other human life is an ethical dilemma that scientists and all people should be very cautious about. And it puts us in the world a little bit of political arena, but I just think life is precious, should be held as precious, and we should do things that communicate that infinite value in human life. And so those areas should be handled very carefully. All right, so 717 this week. We'll see you Sunday night.